Hi, this is Andrew from communicativeEnglish.co.uk. Now, I've been teaching English to native and non-native speakers for years. Welcome to my kitchen, which is also my classroom, until I can move somewhere else. But I've also been learning languages. In fact, I believe that to teach languages, you must learn at least one other to an advanced level so you can understand the process and what works and what's a waste of time. As an aside, I also have a master's degree in teaching languages, but during that time I actually focused on language acquisition rather than explicit teaching. But that's a topic for another video. So on to today's topic. Apps. I get a lot of students, and indeed I have a lot of friends, who've tried to learn a language using apps such as Duolingo. Now, this is not that I have anything against apps, or my friends for that matter, but people end up frustrated. They get annoyed that they've invested a lot of time in these apps, and when it comes to it, they can't hold a conversation. And during my teaching career, I've seen this thousands of times with people who studied languages for years through primary and secondary school, or elementary and high school if you're North American. Then they go on to college or university and continue their studies, but they still can't hold the most basic of conversations. So it's not just an app thing. So let's try this. Let's see if you've been learning from an app or through school. You've got to stand up now and ask an imaginary friend using the language you're learning. Unfortunately, if you're learning in English, then I'm going to give you the answer now. But the question you need to ask is, hi, how are you? It's been a long time. Is everything okay? Okay, so I hope you managed that. I mean, for me, I could do this in numerous languages, but the easiest one for me is Spanish. And I would say something like, hola, ¿qué tal? Hace mucho tiempo, todo va bien. Or several variations of these phrases. Easy? Well, there are other ways of expressing these phrases in Spanish, as there are in English, but they're the ones I would probably use if I were back in Spain talking with my friends. So, how did you get on with that little test? If you couldn't do it spontaneously, immediately, then take a pen and paper and write down what you would have said. Now, pause the video to do that if you want. If you wrote it down okay, then you've learned, yeah? You've learned some language, which is good. All that remains is to exercise yourself, and by that I mean you must practice speaking. If you couldn't do it, either spoken or in written form, then unfortunately you've got more to learn. But it's not the end of the world. But what I will say is that speaking is the objective of all language learners, so you need to practice it. If you manage to say the phrases above spontaneously, then you're on the right track. Developing your speaking skills is all about habit forming. If you get in the right habit of speaking, as opposed to studying, then your spoken skills will improve exponentially, immediately, really quickly. And what I'm saying is that comprehension and production of language are different skills. Now, apps and school can give you the ability to understand, yeah? Where they often fail, especially apps and school, is in the production of language, the speaking. By this I mean they do not teach you how to speak spontaneously, how to hold a normal conversation. If you can't speak in a spontaneous or unplanned, unpremeditated way, then you can't communicate effectively. So imagine you're talking to someone in your own language and they delay, they procrastinate, prevaricate when replying. You're not going to continue the conversation, are you? Unless you have immense patience or you're a language teacher. Now, apps and school learning definitely have their place. Apps do well with sentence structure and vocabulary, so does school. However, it takes an eternity to learn a language in this way, and ultimately you'll probably understand a lot, but you'll not be able to speak spontaneously or naturally. And this is the real problem for learners. But if you want to speak, then you need to practice that skill. You might have learned thousands of vocabulary items through apps like Anki or Memrise, which are great. You may have a great understanding of grammar, but can you communicate spontaneously and effectively? That's the question to ask yourself. Now, I often use this sort of metaphor. If you were going to learn to swim, would you read a book or study the mechanics of swimming, how it physically works, on an app or at school? Or would you just go and jump into a river or a swimming pool? Well, doing that you might die, but learning a language you're not going to, yeah? You've got the support of a tutor or a teacher. So you need to speak. You need to, it's like the swimming, you need to speak, you need to do it physically. And this is how speaking a language, how you learn to speak a language. It's a physical exercise. So take your school lessons or app learning. It's great, but then get online, get a tutor to coach and help you with your spoken language. It works for everyone. And I know people who've learned languages when they were children, then they didn't use them, perhaps because they moved to another country. However, 40, 50, even 60 years later, they can still watch TV shows or listen to radio in that language and still understand it. All they need is speaking practice to get back into the habit of communicating in that language. So the message is, apps and school learning have their place, but get online and get a coach or a tutor like myself to activate your speaking skills. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Now it takes a little bit of time to research and write them, but that's okay. I've left links in the description. If you really liked it, you can buy some of my books. You can visit my website if you'd like to book classes. You can PayPal me if you enjoyed the video, or you can buy me a coffee, or you can check out my Facebook. Otherwise, until next time, thank you. See you soon.